So, abrupt changes in reaction force of the hose line may throw firefighters off balance. That's just another cautionary tale for your operators as well as for you as you're opening that hose line. If you have multiple lines running off of one truck and all of a sudden you either open or close that line fast, the people on that other line are going to feel that pressure change. So you have to be aware of that. Open slow, shut slow, not only for water hammer, but because the truck's got to adjust to that pressure and and your operator has to make those adjustments too. So depending on whether you've got an automatic pump system that's gonna adjust the RPM for you, or if it's a lever mounted system where your operator has to operate that lever and open that valve a certain point so that each person has the right amount of flow going to them. Because if they're running a 2.5-inch line off of one side of the truck, that valve's gonna only be cracked about half or 3/4 of the way open because they're running the 1 3/4 inch line probably at 110, 120. We don't want to run that 2.5 at 110 or 120 because you're gonna have a hard time hanging on to it. So the pump operator is gonna just open that to halfway, maybe get 50 or 60 psi to that 2.5-inch line. And if they slam that 2.5 closed all of a sudden, that's gonna increase the pressure on that 1 3/4 pretty significantly. And if you're not expecting that on the end of that line, that could rip it right out of your hands and can cause injury. So just something to be aware of there too. Constant pressure fog nozzles automatically vary flow rate to maintain a constant pressure. So that's all done in the nozzle. It adjusts for you anyways on those automated nozzles. That's why they're called that anyways. You can change the flow that you have with a shutoff valve, and you can vary the flow while maintaining a constant pressure. So even if you shut the bail some, you can still be getting the same pressure out of the end. You're just getting less volume out of there as it goes anyways.
So is that a constant pressure?
That's an automatic. The one that we have on our trucks are all automatic pressure.
Yeah.
So. And hand lines, for automatic nozzles, they're designed for low and mid-range to high flow. Master streams are designed for range, basically, as you go through those. And then fog nozzles are designed to operate at a variety of nozzle pressures. The majority of the ones that we have on the truck are designed to operate at 100 psi, but they can also vary at lower pressures as well, as you can kind of see up there anyways. Broken delivery devices, they do have the pictures in here. So there's a piercing nozzle, which we showed you and handed around. This is a Bresnan distributor. It's a funky little thing on the bottom there, and I believe it's loose so it can spin around. Okay, so that'd be something you could stick through if you've got a hole there. And then the Rockwood cellar pipe, I have seen one of these before. I've never seen one in operation before though. So lots of different devices out there that you can use for firefighting. If you've got the money for it, you can have each and every one of them in your truck if you want. So.
You have enough room.
Yeah, in enough room, that's true. So different types of nozzle control valves. They allow the operator to do several tasks, basically start, stop, or increase or decrease the flow of your water. Remember to open it slowly, we've talked about that. Control your nozzle reaction as it increases, and then remember to close it slowly to prevent water hammer. So that's what your valves can do for you. And then what they're talking about with nozzle reaction is, as you open that up, you're gonna have increased pressure, so you wanna make sure that you're ready and you can control that. That's the one thing you can control. Now, when the truck ramps up or something like that, that's something that's out of your hands. But again, if you open it slowly and let that truck catch up to you as you're opening it, then you'll be able to better handle that nozzle reaction as you go through it. Ball valve, which all these I believe have in them, is the most common type of nozzle control valve. As you turn it, it opens up the hole or opens that. If you didn't look in the end of it, grab one at the end there.
I think that's a slide there.
Which one, this one?
Yeah, good one.
Could be.
Open it up, I didn't see anything in there.
It moves it away from the end towards you.
Yep, you're right. This is a slider on this one. Good catch, Mike. And then that one should be a ball valve, I think. I looked in that one.
It was.
Okay. So there's the two kinds there if you want to look at them again at the end as you operate it, but Good catch. I didn't catch it earlier when I was looking in there, so.
Couldn't see it moving.
But ball valve is, again, probably a more common one anyways on most of them. But as you turn it, it opens the hole basically and allows the water to flow through there. Then the slide valve uses a movable cylinder to turn off the water flow. So as you pull back, it closes, push forward, it closes, you pull back, it allows it to open up and allow the water to flow through the nozzle. Rotary control is only on the fog nozzles. We know that, we talked about it. You can get your straight or your fog pattern as you go through that anyways. Okay. We talked about this a little bit in the last set of slides, but operating smoothbore nozzles requires an understanding of the force that they create. Water flow creates force in the direction of the stream, and an equal force is created in the opposite direction. So it pushes back on you, and sometimes can make that nozzle difficult to handle as you go through there. Specific steps used to control smoothbore nozzles. Cradle the hose line in one arm. If you have a pistol grip, hold it in one hand. If you don't have the pistol grip, and I know Russ teaches to leave them alone.
I was just gonna say.
Yeah, there's different techniques out there. So Russ prefers just, I believe, the handle up here to hang on to it.
He was gonna show us and he didn't.
Yeah, I believe he just prefers this. I don't mind using the pistol grip. I think there's a good reason they're there, and it allows for better control, I think. But I'm not gonna say Russ's way is wrong either. It's whatever you're comfortable with as you go. Okay, as you're pulling back, if it's a smooth bore, then he says if you have this here, you can have a little better control as you open it, and then you can reach down if you need to, but he doesn't like down here at all. So he just wants you to hold on to the front, and then you can still have the control here. So I don't mind using the pistol grip and using my left hand to open it anyways. Kind of up to how you're trained and what you want to use anyways as you go through there. So, and he may be particular on it when he's teaching you, but find your way and use it as you need to anyways. When you open it, slowly back on the bail, okay? As the action increases, lean forward with your leg, make sure you're braced shoulder width apart in a comfortable position, especially if you're gonna have to flow for very long. As it increases, you can lean into it more. Preferably have a second person behind you to operate that, and they should be taking the majority of the weight of that reaction. Okay, so the second person in line is typically the one holding the weight of that reaction, and you're typically just focused on controlling the direction that you're taking that nozzle. Okay, so it'll come up underneath your arm, they should be snugged up right next behind you, and they should be taking the weight of that reaction, majority of it, so that you can direct which way you want the stream to go. Okay, whether it's stream or whether it's a fog nozzle, either way. So they say one person can run an 1.5 inch line. If it's 1 3/4 inches, they recommend at least a couple of people. So fog nozzle will vary depending on what you're using. If it's a straight stream or a narrow stream similar to a smoothbore, you're gonna have more pushback. If it's a wider pattern, you can typically handle it on your own. But if you go to the straight stream, just remember that's going to narrow down that reaction and give you more pushback as you go through there. Maintenance, care, and cleaning, and technical maintenance. There's not a lot you have to do with a nozzle, but it's recommended that you clean them. If you do run foam through them, you should open it up to that flush and try and get as much of that out of there, especially in the hose lines, because it does stiffen up hose pretty significantly when you run foam through there. It'll stiffen up that hose. Swivel gaskets are your friends. So inside each nozzle, if I can get it, all right, not on that one I can't, but gaskets, I guess. Maybe not. Alright, anyways.
Good.
There we go. Inside there should be a gasket. It should be fairly smooth, should be pliable. When you ply it, it shouldn't show a lot of cracks or be dried out or look anything like that. Typically they last a fairly long time. and this is what reduces your leaks and your problems when you connect your hose to it. If you have a good gasket in there, you should not have to take a spanner wrench and tighten down your connections on your hose. Spanner wrenches are for undoing connections, not putting connections together on fire hoses. Okay, so if you're screwing them together, a hose on the end of, or a nozzle on the end of the hose, you should be able to put it on there, and if it's got a good gasket, you should just be able to hand tight and should be ready to go. You should not have to use a spanner wrench. If you're using a spanner wrench to tighten it down, this gasket probably most likely needs replaced. Okay, so, and there are several that we have in the truck, so if you do have one that goes bad for whatever reason, they're underneath the seats of our trucks anyways. They're red in color, are the replacement ones. So, and they typically just slide in. If they've been in there a while, they're a little harder to get out, but they should slide in pretty nice and sit into, there's a specific place inside here for them. And once they're in there, they should slide in there and look nice. So, okay. So you want to look for that. You want to look for external damage on the nozzles. Look for any internal damage or debris. Check to make sure that everything is operating with ease. Make sure the pistol grip is secured properly to the nozzle. It's not loose or wobbling around. If it is, that's an issue. There is a tightening bolt inside the handle, but it does take a special tool, I think, or have to have the right tool to get it put back in there. And then make sure all parts are in place and it's in good condition. When you're rolling hose, because of this appliance, you want to keep it in good shape. I recommend you take the nozzle off the end when you're draining hose and bring it back to the truck and put it on the truck. Even if you put it in a cabinet, I don't care. But take the nozzle off when you're starting to pick up hose at the end of the fire, get it back to the truck, put it in the cab, put it on the cabinet, put it somewhere where it's not going to fall off, number one, if you leave and forget it's on the truck there, and get it so that you're not banging it up when you're picking up the hose and you're draining it out. The nozzle should be pulled off and brought back to the truck so that you can do that. Right? Some other things you can do is after each use, you can wash them with soap and water or follow the manufacturer's recommendations to clean and lubricate any moving parts. You should store it with the bail in the closed position. Make sure that if you do decide to open it up to check it, that there's no water on the other side of the line and your daughter's not standing in front of the hose line. Just a little self-story there. So they get mad at you, especially when there's water in there. So.
And how old was she?
Emma was probably 4 or 5, and she was pissed. But never drop or drag the nozzle again. Take it off, bring it back to the truck, and then use the flush setting on the fog nozzle to remove any internal debris from that nozzle anyways. So, last part here, we're just about through it. I know it's a long one, I know you're kind of tired, some of you, but you need to know the extinguishing properties of water and the properties of nozzles available in your departments. If you use smoothbore, great. If you use the fog pattern nozzles, make sure you're familiar with them, make sure you're familiar with what kind they are, and practice with them. That's the best way to get out and do that. Saturday, if you're coming to Skills Day and your chief says that it's okay, you're welcome to bring up one of your nozzles if you'd rather to play with. Otherwise, you're welcome to ours. You have to understand the factors affecting fire streams. Pretty basic there. Know how to select, operate, and maintain nozzles that are available. And then this Saturday, we're going to do fog stream and some straight stream operation as part of our practice. As long as we can find a suitable water supply and location to do it anyways. So, questions on that? All right, not too early out, but